Joe here from H145 Rotor Sims, and you're probably wondering about this helmet. This is actually, I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Phil from Germany. He flies in an actual helicopter. This was his old helmet. Turns out we have the same size head. Who the hell knew? Anyway, something I want to share with you guys. So here, this is the collective base cover, and the collective is in. So I want to review a couple of things about this and a couple of modifications that are becoming our way before I go ahead and start offering this kit. But man, it sure is sweet. Okay, so let's start talking about the changes that I've made to the collective. So what's going to happen is we're going to get rid of this third bracket here. This will actually lower the cost a little bit, and we're going to take these weights and we're going to stack them back here just because we have just a little bit more leverage behind this motor axis. So that's going to help a lot with this particular collective, especially this one, because this one actually has a metal head on it. I'm going to tilt this camera up just a little bit. And as we could see we got a nice, beautiful pitch right there for the collective. And then down here, we have the mean well power supply. And of course, we're connected to a hub with a 10-to-1 gearbox. This motor doesn't really work all that hard. The other thing that I've made a change with is that this right here, you can see there's an electrical squeeze connector, which we typically use in fire alarms and high voltage applications. But what I've done is I actually implemented a XT60 connector, because I know some people want to use external power supplies, 300 watt power supply with an XT60, so they don't have to use this mean well power supply. So let me go ahead and switch the camera over to the side so we can see the board. Okay, so here we can see we have the VP force controller, a custom bracket that I made that works beautifully with this. I've actually moved this bracket. Originally I had it over here, but the problem is that you couldn't get a screwdriver to actually get to the connection. So that just doesn't make it easy for us to work on it, right? So I put it over here so it just makes it simpler to get to. Next, I did get rid of some of the wire retainers, but not all of them, so they do go straight down the line. There's just not as many of them. The other thing is too is that down here we have these 4 M8 bolts, and these go down to your standard T-slot connections, and this is how I have it connected to the frame. So you can simply just take one of these, you can get in here, you can loosen the bolts. And I've given you the option so that basically you can connect this to extruded aluminum that way, and you can put 90s off to the side, whatever. So it'll work out, for your setup and how it's going to be. Okay, so right here we're going to get rid of these holes here, because originally I was going to put a metal ring on top and on bottom with a piece of leather, and it's not really going to do anything for us. So these holes are going to get eliminated. It'll just stay nice and clean. The other thing was too is that I had a hard time getting this on, and it was because down here this was connected, so trying to fold this over the connections over there made it very difficult. So you can see I took my Dremel and I cut it out, so now this actually could slide. All you got to do is put this over the front of the collective head, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment, and then we just slide that over, down, and over the top, and you're good to go. Oh, one more thing I want to show you about the motor. So here on the 10-to-1 reduction ratio gearbox, a planetary gearbox, so this is 5 millimeter thick, which is really good. But what we need to do is we need to strengthen this bracket so that there's no flex in this at all. So we're going to weld 90-degree pieces of 5 millimeter steel. They're going to go to the bottom of the bracket, and there'll be no flex. Currently, the way I solved it was I put a particular clamp under the bottom here that I drilled a hole, but I don't want people actually having to do that. This needs to be done right, and it needs to be structurally sound so that when you're operating this thing, it feels great, it looks great, and you know that you have an awesome collective that is sitting behind you. So let's go ahead and take this off, and I'll show you what those connections look like. Okay, so basically with the kit, what you're going to have is you're going to basically have this in this stub. That's why I said getting the cover over the top of it won't be that much of a problem. So the next thing is too is that with this max flight control, I implemented this M12 connection here. So basically this connects over to here, but max flight control uses his own control box, which goes down to this Ethernet connection. So I had to do a pin out. Now this is a watertight connector, which is not needed, but it's really nice. It works great when you're using this RJ45. It's got a satisfying click to it, very tactile. And this right here, this is currently 3D printed. This is going to be metal. So this is going to allow basically for this USB connection point to be retained right here with this wire retention block. And this actually comes with the VP Force controller. And VP Force is just amazing. There is no other force feedback out there that I could recommend with the implementations that we actually have. Okay, so here's a little adapter I developed. So this is basically will screw on to a like a thrust master. So what I did was I made these dimples right here so that when you get this actually aligned properly, it'll lock into place and it won't twist on you. So then we take this here and we'll drop this right on here for now. We'll get it close. So right now it's lined up. So I'm tightening, and I made these nice knurls on this here so it feels good when you're trying to tighten it. So here we go. And then basically this will go like right into here. And these are threaded and tapped, and I left a little bit of tolerance here so you can get it in quite easily. And this here will actually go into the front up there so you can connect your own type of controller to this, because you may not be using the MaxFlight, and we want to be able to give you the ability to do that, or MaxFlightStick, I should say. It gets warm in these things, guys. Okay, so what's next? That's way better. Next is actually the anti-torque pedals. I actually have been working on these, and it's really, really important to me that things last as long as possible. So it's going to be connected to a 10-to-1 gearbox, just like we have for the Collective. The other thing is with the torque pedals is that they are going to be right out of the box 20 Newton meters, which is very close to the real H145 with no load on it. So the motor is going to drive the AFCS system, and also what's going to happen is it's going to deal with all the effects and everything else like that. But by the motor not having to work so hard through this gearbox and the lever system, it will make it so that the motor will last very, very long. So that kit is almost ready, and it's currently in the prototyping phases. And I'm going to throw up some screenshots on the screen so you guys can kind of see what these look like. So the thing is that they'll be able, so you can mount them like on your frame in the front, or if you want, you can put extruded aluminum underneath, or you can put 90s on the sides, or it could be standalone, because we're going to put in some leveling feet as well. And I'll show you that. So it's going to look really cool. I think it's going to operate beautifully, and it's really going to finish this setup in terms of having a full force feedback system. I do want to give a quick shout out to Smitty, Sundowner, and Fierce Fire. These guys up on the VP Force forums, they are engineers, and as it's just great to collaborate with them because they always have these good ideas on how we come up with these calculations, and it's just been instrumental to the community. So thank you. And I want to thank all the supporters out there that have been watching this channel and following along. Next, I want to start doing some videos where we start talking about the cockpit and all the functions. So the very first video is going to be actually looking at the cockpit and understanding which each one of these components is, even when it's the power off. So you just want to be familiar with the layout. So that'll actually be another video. So again, thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome evening, and I'm so excited to bring these products to life. And thank you so much for the support.